So I was thinking, what are some of the ways that Eddie Howe can get his Newcastle side to win and actually take the trophy off United? Of course, Loris is a big sticking point, and as a Liverpool fan, we'll be watching him closely. But moving away from the goalkeeping situation, I thought the most interesting man on the pitch today would be Alan Saint-Maximin. Of course, this is if Howe does play him. The lineups aren't here yet, so I've just done what I think the lineups could be. So I was thinking, St. Maximin usually plays on the left-hand side of a front three or on the left-hand side of a midfield if they play with a five in midfield and have one up top. But St. Maximin himself, in an interview he did when he first joined Newcastle from Nice, said that he spent most of his youth career as a 10 and that he sees himself as more of a attacking midfielder than a wide winger. You wouldn't think that given his skills and his dribbly boy attributes, but he is onto something there. The most creative footballers are usually in the 10. We've seen that with Bruno here. And I'm thinking, maybe St. Maximin played in the centre attacking role is the way to unlocking Man United in today's cup final. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think of situations that St. Maximin would be good on and off the ball and cause havoc for United when Newcastle are on the attack, and what that means for United when they are with the ball, or let's say when they've just had possession. So let me just get the ball quickly. So with St. Maximin in the 10, I'm thinking that because, of course, Wout Weghorst didn't do too well against Barcelona, so maybe he won't start. So Marcus Rashford would be forced to track back a bit. The same with Bruno. He wouldn't be able to operate in the space all the time because of the threat of St. Maximin. And if Newcastle have the industrious midfield of Longstaff and Guimaraes, or could be even Willock and Joe Linton, whatever midfield pairing Howe does, because they're all very good technical footballers, but aggressive as well, and that's really going to cause problems if there are two of them as well. And then Dan Burn, if need be, can invert a bit. And that gives them their back three, or not Dan Burn, but Kieran Trippier can invert a bit, and they have a back three for more protection. But moving away from that and back to St. Maximin, since he is so good at one-on-one dribbling, he's probably the best one-on-one dribbler, or the best dribbler full stop in the league this season, or in the past few seasons. He can isolate players such as Fred or Casemiro when he's in the centre of the park, and that unlocks space for the striker ahead of them, whether that's Callum Wilson or Alexander Isak. I'm not sure if Gordon gets a start. I don't, because he's played 3 games and he hasn't performed. But if he does get a start, that means that he can also terrorise Diogo Dalot. And I put Dalot in here because maybe Ten Hag would want to be more attacking instead of putting in Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's a more defensive option. Still good going forward. We saw that against Barcelona, where he played very well and gave, I think it was Balde, their left back, gave him a hell of a ride. But away from that, St. Maximin would just cause absolute havoc in the midfield to the point where both Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes would have to track back and defend. And what that means is Anthony would be isolated against Dan Burn. If you can't get it to play, if you can't play balls into Anthony's feet, I'm not sure he's going to be winning that aerial duel. And if it's not Anthony Gordon, but it's Jacob Murphy playing on that left-hand side coming in, then he's got double the trouble because Murphy will always bomb up and down. He's more of I think he started as a right back. Or his brother might have started as a right back, but he started as a more defensive player under Steve Bruce as a wing back before Trippier joined. So he's also going to be man marking and coming up this left half space, or the wide space, this left wide space, and drifting into the half space as well when Newcastle are on the ball. And again, with Newcastle being on the ball, returning to St. Maximin, he can just pick apart any team in world football. Genuinely, I'm not sure Lisandro Martinez will have issues with him coming into the box, or he will have issues with him coming into the box, because if Martinez has to come, let's just organise this team a bit better than what it looks like now. Just bear with me, Callum Wilson would not be there. Let's just put Callum Wilson in for now. I'm not sure if Isak's back from his injury. But if you have a situation where St. Maximin is at the edge of the box and he's not having to come in after beating 4 players and drifting on his right, but instead there's someone making an overlap run or inverted run, and maybe you've got Dan Burner's protection and Longstaff coming in from that left-hand channel, and Saint-Maximin has the freedom to drive into the box. And if you have someone pulling apart defenders, if you have someone splitting that defensive line, maybe Martinez comes across, maybe Casemiro has to come across, it always opens up space or opens up positions for other players to come in. Just Saint-Maximin alone, not having to come from the left and open up space for himself, but instead him dragging opposition players out of position leaves space for some of Newcastle's other footballers, some of the other industrial, especially Guimaraes. If he can distract Casemiro, if Saint-Maximin can distract Casemiro, why couldn't Almiron, who's in great form, drift past Shaw? Well, it genuinely, the opportunities are unlimited, just unlimited. So without wanting to ramble on for too long, I just thought that Saint-Maximin could be the key to, or not really the key, but a factor in how Newcastle can break down Man United, especially if Ten Hag plays with both Fred and Casemiro, who are very adept at defending counter-attacks. I guess because Casemiro can stop Saint-Maximin if he's drifting in from the centre, say Man United at a corner, and from that attacking situation, the ball breaks, Saint-Maximin is on the run. We saw it against Barcelona. I think it was De Jong who he pulled back, Casemiro. And then Bruno proceeded to bomb-clot the ball into De Jong's stomach. But there are caveats and there are factors that could limit Saint-Maximin in the 10 position, Casemiro being one of them. But if he can keep him, like I was about to allude to, if he can keep Casemiro occupied for the likes of possibly an Anthony Gordon to operate in the left half spaces and work some of his magic that we saw in his early days at Everton or just before he got his move when Chelsea was still linked with him. Maybe that manipulation of space caused by Saint-Maximin, and Saint-Maximin himself is such a threat. Maybe it's just that instead of him having to come in, I keep alluding to this as well, instead of him having to come in from the left after doing all that work and his end product not being so good, possibly him just having to get through and link up with others in the middle of the pitch can at least increase some of his output on goal. Of course, shot creating actions are a bit easier when they're coming in from the centre, especially the XG at a penalty spot is 7.8. So maybe getting closer to that penalty spot instead of trying to bend one from 30 yards outside the box is going to be a better solution for Saint-Maximin, and maybe that could aid in Eddie Howe and Newcastle outdoing Erik ten Hag's side at Wembley later today.